You're listening to In Your Face Sports.
We're loving this. How about you?
Produced by DHK Productions.
You guys alive?
Oh, shoot, we couldn't hear anything. Oh, shoot. Shoot. Hello and welcome. My name is Alex Katona.
And I'm Jared Hayes, and you're watching In Your Face Sports by DHK Productions live on KGUR Cuesta College Radio. This was a stunning Week 12 of the NFL 2023 season, Alex. Let's get started on our first quarter headline.
All right. After a bumpy ride, the Steelers slide into the fifth seed of the AFC, of the sixth spot in the AFC playoffs, after their win over a Joe Burrow-less Bengals. All right. I'll start us off by talking about this. Now, let me quickly, back up the information by saying there was more to that headline, but here's a quick little explanation about that. I was told that we make those headlines to add more drama and to do that more for the Steelers, but here's the vibe that I'm scared we're giving off. So many different weeks, week in and week out, whether the Steelers win, whether they lose, whether they beat a good team, whether they lose to a good team, whether they beat a trash team. We're always giving off more of a negative vibe for the Steelers. Like we're saying, okay, they just won this, but are they going to be able to hold this playoff spot? And then as you'll find out later when we talk about the Niners, who have one more win and one less loss than the Steelers. They're 8-3. Steelers are 7-4. The Niners, all we say is, all right, they just dominated. Let's wait for them to dominate more.
Sounds like someone's mad.
I am a little mad. And while I do understand that the Niners have a more propensity to dominate and they are a better team, I still see the not the need, but I feel like if we are going to talk up the Niners so much and buy into that hype after they did have the 3-game losing streak, Steelers have never had more than a 1-game losing streak this season. While the
that was a while ago, though.
Yeah, I know it was, but still, it's the overall vibe that we're buying into, and I'm not here for it. So that's why the headline I said and the headline you guys read was different.
Well, what do you actually have to say about the Steelers' win, though?
Okay, that's a good specify.
Because what I saw was them barely scraping by the Bengals by 6 points with a backup quarterback.
That's true, and last week they lost to a backup quarterback. But let me first address the negatives, kind of, because that's what we're talking about. So, my nose is a little stuffed. They were 1-4 in the red zone. The Steelers were. So I think that was the biggest reason for the 16 points. The only getting 16 points, I think, Cam Britt Taylor. I don't think that's his full name. That's his complete name. But on the Bengals, he was hurt too. So just specifying.
But it's still a good Bengals defense.
Yeah, it's still pretty good. Now, I don't want to use this as an excuse or anything because Coach Tomlin didn't either. That he said those plays normally even out. But Deontay Johnson on the second drive of the game did get a touchdown. I mean, Gene Steratore said it was a touchdown. He caught it in the end zone. It was a 13-yarder. Then he got his 2 feet down, a third foot down, and when he was falling, the ball came out. But I mean, I looked at my sister and I was like, "Is that not a touchdown?" And it wasn't called a touchdown.
It's like a classic Des Bryant call right there.
Yeah. But so later it was. And then the reason why I bring that up is normally you'd be like, okay, it was just a call. It was early in the game. It didn't have too much sway. But the significant part about that is they were in the red zone. It was 3rd and 2, and Jaylen Warren fumbled on the next drive. So pretty much what happened was they got the touchdown, but then they got it taken away. And not only did they get those 7 points taken away, they got the 3 points taken away. And obviously it wasn't the ref's fault that Jaylen Warren fumbled, but that 3rd and 2nd play should have never happened, because the second and 2 play was a touchdown. But nevertheless,
Well, when you're going to the ground and you don't maintain possession all the way through, they're usually going to call that back.
yeah, I think the thing about that is it doesn't help your case. It doesn't help the appearance of it, but it was a touchdown. Like, the rules of a touchdown.
It's a very frustrating rule because you'd think if, he gets 2 feet in, he has possession.
Well, he got 3 feet down.
That should be, exactly. And so just thinking, even with the first 2 feet, that should be a touchdown,
yeah.
in my opinion as well. But, refs these days, especially this season, they're pretty garbage.
Yeah. So there's that. So that's kind of just
and the rules in general, especially regarding catches.
Yeah,
so.
They've been a little questionable, but that's kind of a little caveat I wanted to throw, but I can't. I'm not gonna die on that hill. I do need to say, you take that out. We'll take that out because that was a bit of an odd one. That's still 1-3 in the red zone. That's not gonna win you games. Really. That's not going to beat a Joe Burrow Bengals. And I think the Steelers have the potential to beat the Joe Burrow Bengals. They got 422 yards for the first. They got over 400 yards for the first time in 58 games.
Yeah. Bye-bye, Matt Canada. You're not missed.
That does seem the reason. I kind of want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
So, I'll ask this, but even though I kind of don't love the wording of this question, I'll ask it anyways. Do you think it's a coincidence that the first game Matt Canada was fired, they get a 400-plus yard game after 58 games?
No, I don't think so. I think that his play calling was getting pretty bad, and I think it was much needed, the change. So I don't really see it as a coincidence. I think that Kenny Pickett feels a lot more comfortable in this new system. He actually had a pretty darn good game, very efficient. He was 24 of 33 for 278 yards, no mistakes. He didn't throw any touchdowns, but he drove the offense down the field. And while his stats are still somewhat mediocre for the season at 6 touchdowns to 4 picks with only 2,000 yards, there is noticeable improvement, I would say.
Yeah, this game was definitely it was almost hard not to notice it because the very first play of the game was a 24-yard pass to Pat Freiermuth. And I kind of wanted to – I have a whole section of notes on him. And we won't go, too far into him, but I feel like it's essential to mention him. He's kind of like Deontay Johnson in the way that you don't know how valuable he is. I feel
Until you see, that value really spring forward.
Yeah, and that's kind of a weird way to put it. Because, it's the truth, but it's kind of weird. It's like, okay, well, I guess it makes sense. The way it kind of sounds is this, as if you see his value when he becomes valuable. When he becomes good and he starts playing well, then you see his value. But I don't think that's the case. His rookie year, he came in here and he had one of the best catches, passed it up to himself in the corner of the end zone on 4th down against the Browns. So he has continuity. And then last year, which was the second year, he had a lot of big catches. I think he had one for 60-something yards against the Falcons. But the only difference was this year is he was hurt. He was hurt from week 4 all the way till week 11. So I think last week was his first week back. And last week, obviously, they didn't do that well. They relied really heavily on rushing.
And because, it's his first game back, so you don't want to push him too hard after an injury,
Exactly.
Which is very common with any player.
Yeah, exactly. But what happened, what was changed was he came into this game, first play of the game, first down, they got a 24-yard catch right down the middle. And I want to ask you this question. How essential is it to use the middle of the field when passing?
Oh, very essential. I know with George Kittle down the middle, it's very essential. Those seam routes can be deadly, when they start playing in more of a zone scheme because, they're trying to prevent the screen play or maybe the big play down the sidelines. That's when the seams can start to open up, and that's when you can hit big, hit some jackpots. And so Freiermuth's a veteran. He's one of those guys that can, stretch the field down the seam, just like a George Kittle or a Travis Kelce. Maybe not quite to the same level, but to a level that's elite for a tight end.
Yeah, I mean, he's in his third year. So, I mean, yeah, he's currently in his third year. This is his 6th game of his third season. And I think he's showing that understanding of, okay, this is what we need. Sorry, my nose is a little clogged. We need this on this route. And, like, meaning that, okay, I'm going down the middle. This linebacker, this coverage is here. So I think he has this understanding of saying this play could be huge or this play could be a first down. But I didn't really understand too much the need to throw down the middle or throw in the middle. I'm like, we got George Pickens, we got Deontay Johnson, we got Najee, we got all these players.
Well, it's good to spread it around though.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why I'm kind of learning a little bit more as we go. But, like, my understanding was, like, well, don't interceptions happen in the middle? I mean, like, that wasn't, like, my total thought. But it seems like if you could either choose on the edge, like, or by the sideline catches or middle catches, I'd be like, well, I don't know. It just seems like sideline catches when you have George Pickens and Deontay Johnson.
It kind of depends, like sideline catches can be just as, or throws, they can be just as dangerous, especially, if you got somebody creeping near the receiver, but it doesn't look like they're really on the receiver. They can kind of jump out in front and, skirt the sideline and, run it back. Seam throws are dangerous in their own right because you can have that spying linebacker or safety coming up that you don't necessarily see. So I think that says something about Pickett's game against the Bengals because he picked them apart in a way that way.
Yeah,
so
he did do great. And
I'll give him some props for that.
I wish, yeah, that's nice. I'm always here for Kenny Pickett props.
Also, Najee Harris. I mean, he had 15 carries, 99 yards, and a touchdown. Defense and running game, that's what really can win you games, especially down the stretch. And he had a great game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great... 99 yards is great, especially considering I think the most he's got before this was like 86 yards, and then I think he was even much lower, his third most rushing yards this season. So yeah, that was very impressive. The only part that does stink, and it's what I mentioned right off the bat, is the lack of getting in the end zone, because they got the Steelers had 22 first downs. Before that, I think they had 40-something. So they had 40-something in their first 10 games, and then just in this last game they had 22. So that's what's that statistics? That's 50% of
it's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Thing.
And it's great, and I think it took them to 19th overall in first downs, but considering their points, I think they're 29th in points, there's a little bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah.
And it stinks because it's oh my gosh, the Steelers got 400 yards.
Maybe that's why his name's Matt Canada, because that's where he's going to be coaching next, probably. And it looks like it's a big difference maker not having him in anymore.
It does. And I think it was great, too, kind of like you said about what you gave Kenny Pickett props for, is watching all the games so far this season, they haven't really used the middle of the field that much. So what's kind of cool is they just started using the middle of the this game substantially they used the middle of the field the most. It was in their minds to be it was in the scheme, not their minds, but it was in the scheme to say okay, we're going to use the middle of the field. We're going to get Pat Freiermuth involved a little bit more. He's a weapon.
So you thought the play call variety was a lot better in this game.
And it was cool.
Forward.
Yeah, it was cool because it was a difference. It's just a week. They found out Matt Canada was fired on Tuesday. So then up until Tuesday, they were planning for Matt Canada's scheme. That means they had Tuesday, maybe not even Tuesday, just Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday for this new scheme. And it was executed pretty well. Obviously the red zone parts were fails, but it was nice. It was nice that they...
You can't blame the coach for a fumble or a bad ref call. So.
Yeah, and it was nice.
The last question I got for you is, so the Steelers defense, they had a good game, right? But Jake Browning, he threw 19 of 26 for 227 yards. He had a touchdown and a pick. So he played a decently efficient game. How do you feel about the Steelers secondary going into the second half of the season? Or the rest of the season?
My opinion hasn't changed on him too much. I realize it's not great, but to kind of answer that question in a bit of a duh way, Minkah Fitzpatrick should be coming back soon.
Oh, well,
so
that's good.
obviously,
That'll boost their secondary.
yeah, that's going to boost their
Down the
secondary
stretch,
exponentially. So
How do you feel about Patrick Peterson being one of the number 1 cornerbacks back there? Do you like him, love him, hate him, average? What's your opinion on him?
I like his veteran knowledge, and I like that he understands stuff that a lot of other cornerbacks won't. But also, due to his age, he does give up some plays. I mean, it's not his fault. He's a Hall of Fame cornerback, and in his prime, not in a disrespectful way, but in his prime, he was a lockdown cornerback. But with age,
I agree.
I mean, I was kind of going over this a little bit. In my head, I was like, why do some players get older and it shows so much more? And I think cornerback is one of those positions.
And breaks and bruises and injuries and age catches up with everybody.
I think cornerback is one of those volatile positions where you need your body to be pristine
and as quick as possible.
Yeah, and as quick as possible.
It's arguably the hardest position in football besides quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I would probably put it as second hardest position. You don't know play, but it's not really his fault. I mean, it's not really his fault that he can't cut his go. I mean, he has the knowledge. I think he has a few pass interference, and then
he had a fine from this game, I think, for a hit, and then another player. But the NFL's throwing out fines left and right. I think it's kind of ridiculous. If you get flagged on the field, that's one thing, but to take a player's whole paycheck for a week it's getting pretty nuts.
Yeah, it's definitely.
It's hard to play defense these days.
Yeah, Quan Alexander had that huge hit in the preseason. Remember we talked about that? I think we talked about that in the Bucs preseason game.
Yeah.
And he the running back kind of stumbled and destroyed him, but kind of the secondary. I like Joey Porter Jr. He made a great. He made a great play where he was covering Jamar Chase, and I'll talk a little bit more about Jamar Chase in a second. But he was covering Jamar Chase. He noticed that Tyler Boyd, I believe it was Tyler Boyd, was gonna catch an underneath route and for the first down. So he had the intelligence to say, okay, Jamar's not getting the ball. He got off Jamar and tackled. Whoever it was, I don't know if it was Boyd.
Might have been Higgins.
Yeah. Higgins was not playing, but I don't remember exactly who. But yeah, it was right away. But it showed nice skill, because when you're on Jamar, if you're a rookie on Jamar Chase, I mean, personally, I'd be terrified. Yeah. Jamar Chase is so good.
No,
that's
I hate impressive to say
work.
It,
but he had the confidence to say okay, I'm gonna get off Jamar Chase and I'm gonna stop this third down and I'm gonna tackle this guy right when he gets the ball. Even though I wasn't covering, I was covering Jamar Chase. I can just see it. I can see the play develop, and I can confidently leave Jamar and take that. And then he tackled him right away, and he didn't even catch it. He was going to catch it, he got hit right as it touched his hands from Joey Porter Jr. and it was an incompletion, and they had to punt. So that was a beautiful play. That was kind of an under the cover big play from Joey Porter Jr. It wasn't an interception. It wasn't an obvious pass breakup. It was just kind of a little sly play that you kind of have to really look at.
It's kind of like Jair Brown's hit in the end zone against Kate Otten that kind of went under the radar, as opposed to his tipped pick and then the breakup against Evans. You know, it's kind of one of those plays.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't talk about that because you don't talk about it. But let me quickly end. We can quickly end the Steelers segment on talking about this. So that touchdown, the Jake Browning touchdown, obviously the touchdown, it was an 11-yard pass touchdown. That was disappointing. I wish that didn't happen, but it did. It was a little screen pass to 89 or whatever. He ran through the guy into the end zone. But plays before that, I'm frustrated about. First of all, I want to ask you this on your quick opinion on this. Don't you think you should always kick a kickoff out of the bounds? I mean, why not, why kick it to where they have a chance of returning it?
Oh, well, it's a penalty if you kick it out of bounds.
No, I mean through the end zone, That was bad wording.
Oh,
shouldn't you always kick it through the end zone?
So they oftentimes kickers will kick it short of the end zone around the 2 or 3 yard line to give the special teams a chance to pin them inside of the 25 because the touchback is automatically to the 25-yard line. Now, in game time situations where maybe it's the last 2 minutes and all the other team needs is a touchdown, you would kick it through the end zone every time to prevent any chance of a run back touchdown or anything like that. But in a normal game time situation, first 3 quarters, oftentimes a kicker kicks it inside the 5 or will try to try and pin them inside the 25.
Oh, and you agree with that, that mentality?
I do for the most part, especially if you think you have a good special teams coverage as the kicking team, then it can work out for you pretty well.
Oh, and maybe the Steelers don't have a good special teams coverage because I hate when he kicks. My thought is I don't want to risk having any return.
But you also have a chance at a fumble return. You have, all these different factors.
That's true. I think that is a true risk that could be worth taking sometimes, and maybe if you have a really good coverage plan, you'd be like, okay, we're gonna, I don't know, this from this angle, then do it. But I mean, that's how they got their only touchdown. They kicked it to the 2-yard line. The guy returned it to the 40. And then, returned it to the 48 of the Steelers, so all the way through midfield. And obviously that was the Steelers' fault because they didn't tackle him. But still, if you would have just kicked it out of the bounds, they would have been at the 25. And the 25 is not great, but everybody starts at the 25 is the universal start point. So why not start at the 25 rather than getting a touchdown, starting at the opponent's 45, 49, whatever.
It's usually a mixed bag. You do both in different situations. Yeah. Bottom line, the Steelers are in the playoffs at this point. They're the fifth seed at 7-3, and a win is a win is a win. But with that, we have hit the end of the first quarter. Let's push forward into our second quarter headline.
There's the kickoff. Some power in that one.
All right, so the Ravens shut down Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense, scoring that only scored 10 points during the game. Brandon Staley lays another egg. The Ravens stand at the top of the AFC. Will they continue to dominate, Alex?
Well, I think they might. I mean, they're not going to dominate. I don't think they're going to dominate.
I don't think they really dominated this game. I think the Chargers just aren't that good.
Yeah, they did offensively and defensively. Offensively, defensively, special teams, the Steelers. Not the Steelers. The Chargers struggle. They did get that missed or blocked field goal. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
I pretty much only saw the late hit out of bounds on Herbert that didn't get called for a penalty, and then the Zay Flowers rushing touchdown that sealed the game. That's pretty much all I saw.
I was going to say did you see the bouquet or hear about the bouquet?
No.
What's that called in weddings when you throw it? The person throws it. Does that have a specific name?
I don't know.
The bridesmaids throws it and then the girls go to catch it.
Probably does.
So Zay Flowers did that. And
that's cool.
It was, his name is Flowers, so obviously the celebration has kind of a cool thing.
Oh, that's
and I think Lamar dogged on him a little bit for it. But I thought you're going to say, that was kind of cool. I don't like the Ravens, don't like any Ravens touchdowns, but I like the celebration. But
now, one thing I will say is that technically Justin Herbert outclassed Lamar Jackson in this game. He went 29 of 44 for 217 yards and a touchdown with 4 carries for 447 yards. Not 447, just 47. And Lamar Jackson went 18 of 32 for 177 yards with only 1 touchdown and 11 carries for 39 yards. And so I think that once again speaks volumes about how Brandon Staley is handling this team. Because he's just, he's just not it. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He stinks. He's bad. However you want to put it, he is not right for this team. He's had too long of a leash, and he needs to go.
Yeah.
He's holding Justin Herbert back from having a potential Hall of Fame career. and it's sad to watch right now until they get rid of him.
Yeah, I think it is tough. I mean, I don't really know fully. I mean, it's obviously Brandon Staley's fault, but I don't know fully if you could just like put Herbert on the what is it? I don't know if you could like praise Herbert and just say he's being held back by Staley.
I think you can.
I mean,
honestly.
Herbert threw an interception, I believe.
I don't
Did
think
he?
so. No, I think he played mistake-free.
He did?
And he had that no call out of bounds, which that should have been a late hit. I mean, it doesn't matter what player it is. Like, he got smacked way out of bounds, and that was an atrocious non-call.
Yeah,
They could have gotten them an extra 15 yards and a fresh set of downs.
Yeah, how's the touchdown? I don't know why. I think I checked the fantasy Ravens defense and saw maybe interception, and maybe it was like, I don't know. That we'll have to have you guys check that. Check to see if there was an interception thrown to the Ravens. But nevertheless, I know there were some fumbles in the game. I don't think Herbert fumbled, but there were some fumbles on his offense. But the main reason why I do say this, like, I was watching the game. I had the game on. I was driving home from, I wasn't watching it because I was driving home from the Bay Area to here on Sunday night. And I just had the game, like, going on in the back. Like, I had it on my phone and was listening to it through the phone. And it was third and 6, I believe. No. 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 9, and it was right after a missed or blocked field goal. I actually didn't see it because I didn't have my phone on at the time when I was driving. But they were kicking the field goal. I turned the phone off, and then I checked up again, and the Chargers had the ball, and they did not have a field goal. It was like 13-10 at this point, I think. And Herbert had the ball in midfield, 3rd and 9, 3rd and whatever, and it was 2 to 4 minutes left. I wish I knew the details a little bit more. But nevertheless, he didn't get the first down. And I understand play calling. I understand Kellen Moore maybe called the wrong play, whatever. But I'm not even going to really take it to that level. I'm not going to really give
But at
Herbert
that point, it's ultimately on Herbert to make a throw. I can understand that.
And it was a blocked field. It was like a missed field goal. So literally those were 3 points that would have taken his need to get a touchdown, and all he needed to do was get a field goal to tie it up or a touchdown to go up by 4. And he ultimately failed to do that. But
I'd say that's only one instance of Herbert, not having a successful play. Like, I'd say overall he's been playing extremely good football, and I just think it's a lot to do with that defense. It's easily, in my opinion, the worst passing defense in the league, one of the worst overall defenses in the league.
I definitely agree.
With Brandon Staley supposed to be, a defensive mind. I said it last week. I'll say it again. He's a stale bag of chips you've left out for 2 weeks open, and he's no bueno. Get out of here, Brandon.
Yeah, 100%.
Nobody likes you.
Yeah, he's done. I mean, he's choked and he's choked and he's choked. Honestly, his face is turning purple.
His face has turned into a meme. Like, all I see are memes about Staley, man. That's like 99% of memes out there right now.
And there are some memes about his
NFL
face getting
memes,
angry. But he did get up. He had the right to get upset after Herbert got hit out of bounds, but they like fought afterward. And I think
Herbert and Staley?
No.
Oh.
I should have clarified. No, the Ravens and the because if you're a Chargers if you're a Chargers offensive lineman, you're not just gonna watch.
You're not
gonna
let that just happen. No way, not to your star quarterback.
Yeah, and I think that fight messed him up, and that was their first drive, or at least one of those plays happened where he got hit out of bounds on the first drive down, and they were going to score a touchdown, and obviously they didn't score a touchdown until like the fourth quarter. I don't even think they scored after that first possession field goal.
Yeah, they stalled out,
Yeah, so that was a huge play. But also, I do want to quickly clarify this or kind of stand my ground. Justin Herbert has been playing great, but you need to get that first down.
I know. But that's also a tough Ravens defense.
It is tough.
That'd be tough for any quarterback.
It is tough, but, this is a weird thing to say. Kenny Pickett did it, so why can't Justin Herbert?
Not all the time.
I know, but Kenny Pickett is He is 2-0 against the Ravens. I mean, his very first game, he got hurt 2 drives in. I was at that game. He got concussed, and Mitch Trubisky came in. But his last game was Sunday night, beat the Ravens. This game, week 5, came in, beat the Ravens. And I get that's kind of a poor example because teams in your division, you know them better. You have a higher passionate hate for them. But still, Kenny Pickett had that ability to say, like, okay, I need this first drive. I need this first down now. I need a touchdown. They needed more than just a field goal. And the Chargers defense did keep it all the way up until that last little Zay Flowers rushing touchdown. They kept it close enough. I mean, they kept it to where Justin Herbert had the ball with like 4 minutes left, plenty of time. And
yeah, but that what you just said is an example of how it was on the defense and Staley, because like if they don't let that Zay Flowers touchdown happen, if they can make that stop, they give Herbert a minute or so to go.
Yeah,
at that point the game is sealed. You know,
it would have been less than a minute and getting the ball back. And I get that they could have done, and then the touchdown killed them.
It was a long shot, but you know.
Yeah, the touchdown, the Zay Flowers touchdown, literally killed them, took their souls out. But that never had to happen if Herbert could just march down. Not march down the field. He doesn't even need to march down the field.
Right.
He just needs to go to the 30 or something and take time, because he would have taken more time, obviously. But he punted at like his own 40, at their own like 45-yard line. They punted. But if they could have gotten 20 more yards, a couple more first downs, literally like 2.5 first downs, or like 25 yards. All they needed, could have taken more time off, could have tied up the game, or at least put the team in a position to tie the game up. It's kind of like that whole 49ers Browns thing. If Dicker the kicker would have missed the kick, whatever, the Chargers didn't play that great, it would have been okay. It would have sucked, but it would have been okay. But he didn't even get a chance. He didn't even have the ability. He didn't even give the team the ability to get the first down and give them a chance, and it's frustrating.
No, I know, but bottom line, I'd say a majority of the Chargers' woes are on Mr. Brandon Staley, and like I said, he needs to go bye-bye. Goodbye, Brandon. Nobody likes you. Nobody needs you. But we should probably wrap this up. We got to get to halftime.
All right, let me just quickly say one last final point. It will put Herbert on the hot seat if they do get a new coach. He has expectations. This year, he
completely
has
disagree.
Expectations.
Nope. No, sir.
You don't think there's going to be pressure on him?
No way he's on the hot seat
no.
with a brand new coach.
No. Not like the hot seat maybe, but there's going to be pressure on him.
The only person on the hot seat is Brandon.
No, there's going to be pressure on him to do well.
Sure, there might be pressure on him.
That's what I meant.
That's true. But
yeah, that's what I meant. Hot seat was not the hot. I meant like hot seat as in pressure. Like there's no way they're ever going to new quarterback.
That I agree with. He'll be under pressure.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say like.
But at the same time, I think it'll also. Like, he'll be on pressure. He'll have pressure from the media, but it'll take pressure off of him as a quarterback if they get somebody else a head coach. But
we'll see.
You're right. We'll just have to see. But we should probably head to halftime, yeah?
Oh, yeah. And that'll conclude the first half of In Your Face Sports. Join us after the 10-minute halftime music show as we continue to break down Week 10 of the 2023 NFL season.
You're listening to In Your Face Sports.
Time to pick up some yards!
Here at Cuesta College.
That's it, don't be shy now.
Produced by DHK Productions.
It's up and away!
And you're listening to the halftime show here on KGUR for In Your Face Sports. For our first song for the halftime 10-minute show, we're going to start off with some Rolling Stones because I think some teams are getting a little bit nervous after the Week 12 headlines. Let's start off with Rolling Stones' 19th Nervous Breakdown right here on the halftime show for In Your Face Sports here on KGUR Cuesta College Radio.
Look around.
Always love a good shout out from the Stones. And who's not having a 19th nervous breakdown halfway through the school year? We're getting to the end of this semester as we're wrapping up the 2023 year for the NFL season, moving into the 2024. Once again, you're listening to KGUR, Cuesta College Radio. This is the 10-minute halftime show for In Your Face Sports. If you like what you're hearing and wish you could see more, go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube at DHK Productions Official for weekly updates on new episodes, new podcasts, and even shorts being released weekly. In addition, if you're looking for other ways to check us out on social media, look us up on TikTok, as well as check out KGUR, the website, as well as the Instagram and social media platforms. With that being said, let's go ahead and get ready to send ourselves into our next second song for the In Your Face Sports halftime show. I'm feeling a little bit like I got a party, and so I'm going to do a throwback. This is the Hot Rats. You got to fight for your right to party, a.k.a. the Beastie Boys. So let's get ready. Let's get ready to jam, and here we are, right here on KGUR, Cuesta College Radio.
School, man, you don't wanna go. You ask your mom please, but she still says no. You miss 2 classes or no homework, but your teacher preaches class like it's some kind of joke. You better fight for your right to party. Just smoking, and he said no way. A man hypocrite who smokes 2 packs a day. Living at home, well, it's such a drag. Mom threw away all your baseball, no man. But fight for your right to
Well, that was a little bit of a different rendition than I think most of us are used to when we're hearing You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party. A little bit more on the DL side by the Hot Rats from their album Turn-Ons, the 2010 album. With that being said, this will conclude the halftime show for In Your Face Sports, brought to you live every Tuesday at 1 p.m. on KGUR.net, with subsequent episodes uploaded weekly on the Tuesdays of the full hour-long to hour-and-a-half-long specials. With that being said, let's go ahead and move on from KGUR.net Net live, and let's go ahead and transfer on over to the DHK Productions live shot for In Your Face Sports. Once again, live every Tuesday at 1 p.m. on KGUR.net. Check us out on YouTube and subscribe for more for weekly updates, or check us out on TikTok and Instagram for more behind the scenes and other short takes. With that being said, let's get ahead and end the halftime show, bringing us around to our two guest stars in Your Face Sports.
You're listening to In Your Face Sports,
We're loving this. How about you?
produced by DHK Productions.
Welcome back from the halftime show. You're watching In Your Face Sports by DHK Productions live at KGUR Cuesta College Radio every Tuesday at 1 p.m.
I'm Alex Katona.
I'm Jared Hayes. Sorry.
I'm Alex Katona. Oh, wait.
Switchy.
Oh. It's time to rush into our third quarter headline. Brock Purdy and the 49ers.
Wait. No, go.
Brock Purdy and the 49ers feast on turkey after their blowout win versus Seahawks. How do the Niners look compared to the rest of the NFC, including the now 10-1 Eagles?
That's a great question, Alex. The 49ers looked great in that win against Seattle. I was happy, for sure. Getting to see George Kittle carry the turkey into the stands and, toss everybody drumsticks, that was great, man. Oh, my gosh. That just had me so excited. And getting to see Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy eating some turkey after they feasted on sea chicken, that was something special right there.
Oh, nice little comments. I mean, Kittle is Kittle. He's always going to do the right thing. Not even just football-wise, but he's always just going to do the funniest, the coolest thing. He's just one of those guys. So, not as a Niners fan, but you being a Niners fan, I could see why that would put such a big smile on your face. But, yeah, the Niners, they dominated. I mean, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. The Seahawks didn't have Kenneth Walker, but it didn't matter. They had him or not. They could have had beast mode in there, and I still don't think the score would have been that different.
I think Geno Smith finally broke back. Yeah.
That was a little bit of a deep cut, but yeah.
That's deep, baby.
I mean, would Russell Wilson have done any different? Maybe, but we'll have to see how good the Broncos do. But yeah, I mean the Niners have 140 point differential at this point, meaning everybody knows what a point differential is. But yeah, it's I'm not gonna hype them up to the level that they're just gonna go to the Super Bowl and they're just gonna win with ease. But after this week, after the last couple of weeks, they've definitely reimburse themselves for that 3-game performance. That's in the past. That's nothing. That's history. That's as if it didn't even happen, that 3-game losing streak, and they're ready. They're ready to go deep in the playoffs. They're kind of picking up right where they left off of that they have the 5-game winning streak. I believe it was 5-game, and then 3-game losing streak. But it's almost as if they're just going to pick up right after that 5-game winning streak, just with their level of dominance. It was dominance the first 5 games, then they had the little 3-game losing streaks, and then it just gets back to dominance. There's no in-between with the Niners so far.
They're back on the win streak, 3 games in a row. Yep.
They either just have a bad game or they dominate, and that's just it. Now, let me throw this little question tidbit at you.
Sure.
Brock Purdy threw a pick 6 and to, I think, Brooks, I forgot exactly his first name, 56 on the Seahawks. And the play before that also could have been a pick. Is there going to be any little thought in the back of your mind, and maybe deep into the playoffs, and be like, ooh, Brock Purdy might throw an interception here, because now he showed a little bit more of a propensity to throw interceptions? Is that not something that you'd be scared of, but is that possibility slightly more possible now after seeing that 3-game losing streak and after seeing a few little more mistakes?
It's a slight concern. Those were ill-advised throws for sure. Brock Purdy threw it over the middle, and it did get intercepted into the end zone, and that made it a fairly close game at that point. I don't think it's a huge concern. I think that's something you can look at the tape and you can scheme differently. And, I think it had to do partially with the fact that they didn't really run the football inside the 10-yard line, which is usually what the Niners go to. So it's, especially if you're trying to get, not like first and goal, but, out of your own 10-yard line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Either situation, I would expect the 49ers to run the ball. You have Christian McCaffrey, who's one of the best football players in the league. I would expect them to at least do a running play on that first slant play that Purdy threw before the interception.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a bad throw, for sure. I did like, though, that the 49ers switched up their scheme a little bit and were a little more pass-heavy to start the game overall. I think it's good to switch it up each week so that, the next team up can't always game plan for, okay, it's going to be McCaffrey, Ayuk,
Yeah.
all the time,
Yeah,
especially when you're going up against the Eagles next week, and that's going to be one heck of a game. I can't wait to beat them Birds. I hope that Niners pull through for that win. But it was a bad throw, and the results were obvious. But I don't think it's a huge concern. Like I said, it's something they can look at the tape. They can go back and say, okay, you shouldn't have thrown it there. It was behind him, and that's something that I think Purdy can correct fairly easily.
Yeah, I do agree. And maybe they can just say, okay, let's just, when we're in our own 10-yard line, when we're so close to our own end zone, maybe we can just run it. I mean, we can run it with Debo, we can run it with CMC, and we can run it with Elijah Mitchell. And I think that could be kind of a lesson learned. I still think maybe that could be a slight concern too. I mean, not confidence-wise. I think Brock Purdy has as much confidence as you need as a player in your life.
But yeah, that's not the kind of mechanics you see from him usually.
Yeah, but it could come back. It could come back, and it could be I don't know exactly how to word this. It could be like a little mistake that happens that you're like, this isn't the Brock Purdy.
Let's just say you can't do that against the Eagles.
Yeah, you can't do that against the Eagles or even in the playoffs with teams you're going to face.
Right.
So, speaking of, not speaking of that. Sorry. I mixed myself up a little bit thinking about the 49ers. But, yeah, I did see that they started off the game passing a little bit more. But even with that being said, Christian McCaffrey still had 114 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I believe that was in the first half. Or maybe not 114 yards in the first half, but a lot of...
That was his total for the game, but still, he was running all over the place in the first half still.
Yeah, doing great, and 2 touchdowns. But this brings me to another question, and I talked about this with my brother after the 49ers game. Are they running Christian McCaffrey too much?
I don't think so. I actually think they did a much better job than they have in previous games of rotating Elijah Mitchell in this game. I think they need to do it a little bit more, but he is, their star player, and especially next week, he's going to get used heavily for sure. He is arguably their best player on the whole team. Maybe Trent Williams, maybe Nick Bosa, but
Still, he's up there.
Regardless, he's easily their best offensive weapon. And so it's hard to say that he's overused when, he wants to be out there. He wants to be getting that contact, and he wants to be putting points on the board. So at a certain point, Kyle's rotating in new running backs. I think they should be using Jordan Mason more. Personally, I think he's an excellent running back, and they've been underusing him, especially in recent weeks. I haven't really seen him at all on the field. But overall, I think it comes down to Christian just loves being out there, and he likes taking the hits, and he's there to win.
Yeah, I agree with I understand that. I also slightly disagree though. Again, I think you clearly understand that you obviously want the other running backs out there a little bit more too, and I think it would be great to put Mason out there.
Yeah, JP needs to be out there a little more. I don't know why they just abandoned that.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you're already gonna dominate teams. Why not just slightly dominate teams less and get more experience to Mason? So then, when it comes to playoff games and it comes to playing those teams, you could throw out Christian McCaffrey, who you know is your best offensive player. You could throw out Elijah Mitchell, who had a great rookie season, and you could now throw out George Mason, right?
Jordan Mason.
Oh, Jordan Mason, who is now slightly more experienced. And because you give him some more experience, so when it comes to the playoffs, you have 3 experienced backs, like top tier with Christian McCaffrey.
I totally agree.
Pretty average, like average to slightly above average with Elijah, and then average with Jordan Mason. And those are 3 weapons. And not only does that give you a little bit more versatility, but also it saves Christian McCaffrey.
Absolutely, because they're only average by their stat lines. Like when they're out on the field, they're effective. And so it's kind of like when they started using Jaylen Warren more for the Steelers, it was apparent that rotating the backs was very effective and also helped save Najee Harris's health and, splitting the carries. And Jaylen Warren's obviously a better running back than Mason or Mitchell, but it's kind of that same idea. You want to rotate in those backups, give Christian some breathing room, and don't want him to get injured going into the playoffs.
Yeah, because of how essential of a player he is. And with Zeke, he was literally looking for contact. Ezekiel Elliott, I'm talking about, he looked for contact ever since college. He looked for contact, and that ended up, for the long term, that ended up hurting him a little bit, because instead of maybe stepping out of bounds or trying to juke pass, he just went straight through a player, and he wanted that, and he obviously wanted to do the most for his team that he could do. But I feel like you got to be like, okay, we're dominating opponents. We dominated. I mean, the scoreboard, they dominated them. The scoreboard hasn't been, like, I could understand why there was slight fear, because, 4 or 5 minutes could be enough to get 2 touchdowns, to get a 2-possession game. Like, not just for the Niners, but for any team. I mean, more specifically other teams.
But you're right. That was a great moment for them to maybe plug in Mason or plug in Mitchell, with 5 minutes left or so when, they missed that 4th down opportunity, like 4th and 1. I know Christian was super upset on the sideline for not being able to secure that. But that's a moment where maybe you put in your backup running backs because
and save his health.
And then if the Seahawks do get a touchdown and then you're back on offense again, you throw McCaffrey back out there, and then you run some more intricate play designs and
that he would be able to execute.
Maybe some swing passes or some reverses or kind of change it up instead of just running it up the gut over and over with Christian.
Yeah, I feel like it's too much.
Yeah, in that point of the game, I completely agree. Yeah.
And then, they're going to need him against the Eagles. They didn't fully need him as much against the Seahawks, but now he has to go against Jordan Davis. He has to go against, who's that rookie from number 98 on the Eagles? Oh, my gosh.
How
did I forget his name? He tried to intercept the spike.
Yeah. Jalen Carter.
Yeah, Jalen Carter. Yeah. He's going to have to go up against him, who's having an elite season.
Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, oh my Jesus, man, and Joseph again. So he has to go again. And they're probably going to see each other in the playoffs, see Michael Parsons. So as a concerned non-49ers fan, I think they're playing risky, and they're kind of flexing a little bit too. They're flexing their talent a little too hard. And when I say their talent, I mean obviously everybody on that offense is talented. So their talent, their main talent.
I thought Ayuk was kind of quiet in the game. He didn't have as much of a presence as I thought he would either, especially since they were so pass heavy.
Yeah, he didn't do great because Debo was the leading receiver, right? With only 79 yards, and I say only, but we're not talking about a normal offense. We're talking about the 49ers offense. You expect to see 1,000 yards every game. Honestly, it's an exaggeration, but I think what would be cool to this week against the Eagles, and honestly, the Eagles have been winning so much. I feel like teams kind of have to lose a little bit. You can't just win and win and win and win. Like, you can be the better team, but Do you kind of understand what I'm saying? When teams kind of losses are sometimes due.
I think the Eagles are exposable. I mean, Jalen Hurts is he's very good, but and we'll talk about this later. But there were some moments in the Bills game where you could tell he was the pass rush caught up to him, and they had to kind of play catch up. And it would be hard to play catch up against this 49ers offense and defense.
Yeah, and I almost don't even mean like it being a skill issue.
With a healthy Brock Purdy, by the way.
Yeah, I just kind of mean like I feel like when you win so often, you gotta get like not unlucky, but like you just have to lose once in a while. Like, it's not like if they lost this game against the Niners, I guess it would depend on the score. But if they lost this game, my opinion on the Eagles would not change at all. Because it just feels like, okay, they've won so many in a row. They lost week 4 or 5 against the Jets. That's like however many wins in a row. You just got to lose once in a while. I
slightly disagree, though, because this is a huge game against the Niners, and they have a home field advantage. So if the Niners do manage to win the game, I think it could have huge playoff implications. And
yes,
so
it
wouldn't
true.
Just be kind of like another loss, though I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because
but this would have a huge impact potentially on the seeding, because then if the Eagles drop one more and the Niners can win out, then the Niners secure the number 1 seed, and then all of a sudden that Philadelphia home field advantage kind of goes out the window if they do face the Niners, if they can attain the 1 seed.
That's true. I didn't think about it like that, so that is a great way.
So this is a huge game for both teams, realistically.
Yeah, and it does kind of stink because it's like the Eagles just had a huge game against the Chiefs. They just had a huge game against the Bills where they fought so hard that we're going to talk about it. And it's like, oh my gosh, another one. And I don't want to like make excuses or have the Eagles appear softer than they are, because they're obviously a dangerous team. But I feel like they're at the disadvantage. And tell me if you disagree. I feel like they're at the disadvantage because they had to play the Chiefs. They had to play the Bills. Those are kind of the more significant teams that they had to play. They had to play the Cowboys. They had to play a tough game against the Cowboys, play a tough game against the Chiefs, play a tough game against the Bills, and these are all pretty good teams. Despite any of their records, when you hear Chiefs, Cowboys, and Bills, you think about talent. All 3 of those teams have talent, and then, oh my gosh, now they're playing the 49ers, and it just seems you can't win those all. You can't win 4 of those games in a row.
It's the biggest test yet for both teams, that's for sure.
Yes, and it just stinks because I feel like the Eagles are going into this test with a little bit of an ache and a little bit of bags under their eyes. So that's why.
That's true. The Niners have had a lot more rest. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't even think about they started the game on Thursday, so
yeah, for Thanksgiving.
My little final opinion on the Niners and on this upcoming week is I think not skill wise, but just like tangibility wise and like outside factor wise, I think the Niners have a bit of an advantage, and I'm not going to judge this game as much as I'll judge when they meet in the playoffs. And I say when, not if. It's going to be when they meet in the playoffs.
I believe you're right. It should be the NFC Championship repeat, I believe.
Yeah, and then we're excited for that game. And I'm excited for next game. But I think we can end the Niners discussion.
Yeah, go Niners. Feast it up. Feast it up on turkey and sea chicken.
Oh, yeah.
All day, baby. Happy late Thanksgiving.
A little bit. And speaking of the Eagles, fly. Let's start talking about them.
Oh, wait.
All right, so fly, Eagles, fly. Bills fall prey to the vicious 10-1 Eagles that we were just talking about a little bit with their upcoming Niner games. But will Philadelphia continue to soar as the number 1 seed in the NFC?
Well, that's what we were just touching on. I don't think so. I think the Niners come into Philadelphia and somehow find a way to win. That was one heck of a game, by the way.
It was.
That might have been the game of the year.
Best game of the week. Game of the year.
Yeah,
honestly.
It was raining. It was, the crazy field goal by
Jake Elliott.
A 59-yarder in the wind and rain is crazy. And, the Bills coming into halftime and they win the coin toss and they drive down the field and you think for sure they're going to score the touchdown. But then he misses that throw to Gabe Davis.
Oh, yeah.
Gabe Davis, I think he ran the wrong route. He went outside. He was supposed to go inside.
Yeah,
and
then
Bill
hit the
and
field.
Josh, and that I think is on
It's a huge
Davis.
play, too.
Yeah, and then for the Eagles to come roaring back, and then Jalen Hurts kind of shutting up some haters because they say that the only way he runs for touchdowns is with the tush push, but he just straight up ran that thing into the end zone from like 20 yards out and won the game for him.
That was
So
like
I'll
speed,
give him props
right?
for that.
That was like downhill running. Like,
Yeah.
if I was standing on that goal line and he ran through me, I think I would have flew back like 10 yards. Like,
And
you
Jason
could just
Kelsey's
see.
block was insane.
Oh yeah, Jason Kelsey kind of made up a little bit because he had those two
2 false starts.
which it was
They
huge.
were barely flinches, though. They're getting real touchy about the false starts.
Yeah, that was like,
I mean, he barely moved his hand. I've seen so many left and right tackles like move way before the snap this season that haven't gotten called. So for them to call those was kind of iffy, but that's the refs for you this season.
yeah, and then what was so cool about that is he had those 10 yards, I think. I mean, it was 2 false starts, so then 5 yards. So that was making it like a 50-yard field goal to like 59 yards, which is huge considering in the rain, all that. But they still got the field goal. And he kind of redeemed himself, Jason Kelsey did, by having those huge blocks in the end zone in overtime. I'm not in overtime to help Jalen Hurts' touchdown. But yeah, that touchdown was so crazy. And honestly, Jalen Hurts shut me. I wasn't a hater. I don't think I was ever considered an Eagle hater or a Jalen Hurts hater. But he still shut up my doubts a little bit. And to answer that question, I completely think they're gonna soar into the playoffs as the number 1 seed. I don't know if they're gonna win. Against the Niners, as we kind of talked about earlier. And I don't.
Well, they would almost have to, right?
I don't think
secure
so. I think the Niners will maybe squeak out another loss against whatever team. Maybe
They
against
do play
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Yeah.
Hopefully not against Baltimore. I'll always root for San Francisco if it's against Baltimore. But I think they may squeak out another loss. And who knows, maybe the Eagles won't even lose after. Maybe they will lose against the Niners and go in 15-2. Because what I saw from that, I was watching that game pretty heavily because I really was rooting against the Bills because I don't want the Bills to interfere with the Steelers' playoff chances. And I believe if they would have won this game, they would have been in the 7th seed. And knowing the Bills, I just don't want them in the playoffs. So I was watching this game pretty heavily. But this team seems dangerous. This
They are
Eagles
dangerous.
team.
No, they're very good. I won't lie. I mean, geez, Jalen Hurts had 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 pick, and then 2 touchdowns on the ground with 65 yards. I know one of those was a tush push, but I mean,
Still.
even besides that, that's 4 touchdowns and 5 total, and that's very impressive. And against a Bills defense that's pretty solid, that was getting to him really in the game. That very first drive, he had the 3 and out and had to throw the ball away 3 straight times, and just that constant pressure by Buffalo.
I saw that fumble too, right?
Yeah.
Well, that was a handoff.
And in the
but
rain,
still.
too. Being able to throw it that efficiently in the rain is extremely impressive.
But
So I'll give Hurts some credit right there.
But I want to mention a little quote, and this is not original at all, but hungry dogs run faster, and I think the Steelers, man, I do that so many times. I think the Eagles are hungry.
But don't you think the Niners are hungrier after that NFC Championship they lost last year that they've had rubbed in their face after Brock Purdy got hurt in the game, and then they get this chance at, a rematch. It's rematch time. Don't you think the Niners are a little more hungry?
I think they're maybe more hungry for this game, but when I say hungry dogs run faster, I mean...
Full-on turkey, hungry for a dub.
I mean this overall in general. I think the Eagles want it. I mean, this is no disrespect, but I feel like it hasn't been rubbed in their face too much. The Eagles win. Really,
At least from what I've seen on Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of Eagles fans, they like to talk about how, we beat you guys, in the NFC Championship. But let's not forget that Hassan Riddick had a dirty hit on Brock Purdy that, put him out of the game. So how about that?
those are the fans, but honestly, Debo did most of the talking between the two teams, wouldn't you say? Like after the game in the
Hassan
offseason.
Riddick's been pretty talkative. He literally tweeted like, I think earlier today or yesterday, let the trash talking on Debo, go for it. Eagles fans, time to talk trash about Debo and all this, I think it's just a back and forth. I think it's both sides, they're yapping at each other, it's part of the current rivalry they have. I'm actually here for it. I think it's great.
Yeah, they do have they do have a crazy rivalry. And it will be exciting to see kind of how it all ends this season for both teams. But when I'm seeing the Eagles, I mean, they're showing a tenacity. Just like we talked about a little bit earlier with the Kelsey, with the Kelsey things, with the Kelsey penalties that took him 2 yards, and they said we do not care. They pulled a little Mike Tomlin quote and said, we do not care. We're going to kick this field goal. We're going to go into overtime, and we're going to win. We don't care if they kick a field goal. We don't even care about the other team's field goal.
We're going to go in and score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And a lot of Bills fans, argue that it was, Bills versus refs in this game. I would have to disagree. There were bad calls on both sides, just like it seems like every NFL game this season. And in particular, there was a questionable roughing the passer call against the Eagles in overtime, it was before the Gabe Davis touchdown, I believe. That put them 3 points ahead, it was either that or the overtime thing. But regardless,
I think it might have been not overtime, because then they got 3 points ahead, and then didn't the Eagles go down and that's
no, it was overtime because they ended up having to kick the field goal. So it was in overtime, and then Josh Allen had the roughing the passer against them that was questionable, and then even after a fresh set of downs, they had to settle for the field goal that put them ahead, but then Jalen Hurts drove the field, and they scored the touchdown on the rushing touchdown. So in that moment, it was the missed throw to Gabe Davis is when that roughing the passer happened, or before that, So I think that ultimately it came down to that misplay, and then the Bills' defense letting up the touchdown. So I don't think it was Bills versus refs or anything like that. I think the Houston game was more Houston versus refs than anything, but Eagles won fair and square, in my opinion.
But yeah, so in actuality, I mean, the Bills did even worse in overtime than it appeared, because not only were they unable to get that first down after the play, after the roughing the passer, but the roughing the passer helped them out even more. So they kind of needed the roughing the passer to even get in field goal range. Right. But on the other side of the ball, I think the Eagles had like a 3rd and 4. They converted to Devontae Smith, and other than that 3rd and 4, they marched down the field in overtime. There was no doubt. I think even the announcer said this, they're not going for the field goal. They're going to the touchdown, and they're ending this. And there was never a doubt in my mind, I was obviously rooting for the Eagles, specifically more against the Bills, but there was never a doubt that they were not going to get a touchdown. And I think that, not that drive specifically, but those last 2 drives, the field goal kicking drive and the overtime drive really showed the Eagles' tenacity to just win. To just say, maybe these circumstances aren't great for us. Maybe it looks like we're not going to win, but we are going to win. Yep. And the Bills have a great team. I mean, they no matter what their record is, they still have Josh Allen. They still have Hyde, all that. They still have Von Miller. They have a great team.
Oh, absolutely. Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, despite that missed touchdown. Yeah,
even James Cook, too. I mean, they did. See, here's a little situation with the Bills, which I wanted to go into a little bit. They have the 4th best point differential, which I looked at 101 points. Their point differential is plus 101. So they have that, but they're 5-6, I think. Could be wrong there, but I think they're 5.
The Bills?
Yeah.
I think they're 6-5.
Wait. Okay, that would maybe.
They're either 6-5 or 6-6.
They might be 6-6. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, you were right. That was kind of a guess, but yeah, they're 6. So 6-5, maybe 6-6, which 6 losses at this point in the season is not good, especially for a Bills team. But, they make little mistakes. They missed the 2 field goals. I mean, one of them was blocked. One of them was just missed. That's going to hurt you.
That was a great play by Jalen Carter, too.
Yeah.
I mean, another Jalen Carter highlight right there. You know, getting his hand up and blocking that field goal.
Yeah, he's going to be something.
Impressive.
I mean, everybody knew Jalen Carter was going to be something, but he's going to be an elite player.
He's proving
for
time
years.
and time again he can make special plays.
Yeah, and this is on special teams. No, I can't. And then this was this is as a rookie. But yeah, and then Josh Allen threw that little bad interception to, I think, Bradbury. You know, missed his player a little bit. And it's why they're losing games. And it's why they're losing big, important games, such as to the Bengals, who had Joe Burrow at that point, to this Eagles. When not saying they should have won, I mean, I think they should have won this Eagles game. I think they should have. I think they had the talent and the capability of doing it, and they just didn't. So that's disappointing. They just won against the Bengals.
There's 3 things guaranteed in life, right? Death, taxes, and Josh Allen losing in fourth quarter or overtime, right?
That's true. That's guaranteed. And you know, he's shown some true grit on these runs, but he's not running enough and he's not showing enough grit because he is disappointing.
But it's not all on Josh. It was just, I think that the Bills played a pretty good game. I think that it was just, you know, that miscommunication on that last throw to Gabe Davis that just can't happen. And you gotta, you know, they were doing a lot of like predictable runs in that overtime drive as well.
Yeah.
It was working for them, but then, you know,
At
they
one
kept
point it's gonna
doing
stop
it. You know,
working.
at some point you gotta run the play action, you know, screen pass or like you know, a little quick slant. You know, you gotta change it up on first and second down.
Yeah,
when you're trying to drive down, when you're trying to score the touchdown, you gotta, you know, you can't rely on this last ditch effort third down deep pass.
Yeah,
you know, that
exactly.
ended up misfiring.
Yeah,
because
because
those are the kind of miscues that
like
have put them at only 6 wins instead of 7 or 8, like the more elite teams in the league.
Yeah, and especially in the AFC where they could have gotten in the playoff spots, and now they're like barely in the. I mean, not barely in the hunt, but they're in the hunt.
I think they're like 9th or 10th in the hunt at this point.
Which is not great considering you have Josh. Considering all the talent they have.
Yeah, you got Houston ahead of them, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh.
Which is nice.
So many different teams that are like in that hunt or in the playoffs already, and even though it is the Eagles, it's on the road, it's in the rain. That's a game that they could have won, and once again fell short.
Yeah, so I think Josh Allen disappointed. I mean, he has 24 total. He has 24 passing touchdowns, 9 rushing. Interceptions, turnovers are not great. 17 in total turnovers. So he's at a weird place, doing well, but also not doing well, like just on his ratios. But ultimately, he's 6-6, and he has to take some blame for that bad record. No matter exactly whose fault it is, you have to look at this MVP caliber player and say you're not getting it done.
Yeah,
and that could be what this season, this Bills season comes down to, and just says they just didn't get it done.
The Bills secondary was beat up in this game though, and like I said, I think that Josh Allen for the most part did get it done. I think the miscommunication was mostly on Davis on that last throw. I think that Allen is a great quarterback. I think he's a great leader. I think that most of the woes for the Bills are, 1, the defense giving up 37 points and the final touchdown drive. And then 2, you know, like I said, even though Gabe Davis got them into overtime, he ran the wrong route. You know, if you beat the corner, you know, the quarterback's expecting you to go inside. So I think that at the end of the day, Josh Allen is still easily a top 10 quarterback this season.
Definitely.
And, you know, we're just going to have to see. Going back to the Eagles, I think they are not going to get that number 1 seed. Go Niners. Like, let's beat them next week. Come on, boys, let's go. And, yeah, that'll bring us to the end of the fourth quarter. But, looks like we're headed into overtime.
All right. Unlike the Bills, we plan on winning in overtime. So let's talk about the Texans a little bit. After losing After losing to the Jaguars, do the Texans still have a shot at the playoffs?
Well, absolutely. I mean, C.J. Stroud is an MVP candidate still, in my opinion. I mean, and also I think the refs may have been paid by the Jaguars in this game, Alex, because there was some atrocious play calling against the Texans, not play calling, refereeing.
Yeah,
realistically,
like
some bad calls. Ultimately, like C.J. Stroud is looking excellent still. They got Tank Dell. They got a fantastic defense. D'Amico Ryans is an excellent coach. I think this is a very hungry football team, a very young football team, and at 6-5, even though it's a competitive AFC wildcard race, I still see the Texans getting into the playoffs for sure.
Yes,
and I think the Jaguars are not as good as their record says.
Yeah, that's logic, Mac, and I do agree with pretty much all that. I think the Texans do have that overall want and desire and talent to get into the playoffs, while other teams maybe not. The Colts are the Colts, and they're in the playoffs, but I see the Texans going ahead of them. I don't know how. I think they probably have one more game to play against each other. I think the Texans will win that, and I think the Texans just not want it more, but know they can get it more and plan on getting it more. I feel like the Colts kind of just, they're even without their starting quarterback. They just let go of Shaq Leonard, and they're kind of limping a little bit more. And the Texans stumbled a little bit, but they're still going on to that race to get in the playoffs.
I think that loss against the Jaguars is going to put a fire under their belly. I think it's actually going to inspire them to win out a bunch of different games. Not completely win out, but I think definitely. I mean, they're not looking too hot. But, yeah, the Texans are easily a playoff contender, and I'm going to say it right now, they will make the playoffs. And I'll also say right now that C.J. Stroud is a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence got lucky, and he better count his blessings now and treat this like a Super Bowl because he's going nowhere in the playoffs. Sorry, Trevor.
I'm going to slightly disagree a little bit with the quarterback claim. I mean, obviously C.J. Stroud is such a good quarterback, and he could ultimately become better than Trevor Lawrence, but I would still take Trevor Lawrence. And honestly, I would take Jaguars in the playoffs against the Texans.
They do own the number 1 seed right now, so they'd have home field advantage. But as we saw in the Niner game, the home field advantage isn't always great for Jacksonville.
I mean, yeah, that was a little different situation.
So if the Jaguars face a real team in the playoffs and they're at home, we're gonna have to see what happens with that.
I mean, that 49ers loss hurt, but the 49ers were destined to win. You're not gonna come back from a bye with all your players healthy, and you're not gonna not show out,
especially after a 3-game week.
Yeah, especially after the 3 games.
But still,
Yeah, but I actually want to talk a little bit about some bad calls too, but they're a little bit more, they're not exactly like what you were saying. I think D'Amico Ryans and C.J. Stroud had a little bit of bad calls. There was a specific one in mind, and it was 4th and 1, and instead of just getting, there were multiple options they could have done. They could have either I forgot if it was punt or field goal.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, but nevertheless, they went for it. I think it was punt.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was either punt or going for it.
Yeah, and then C.J. Stroud just kind of threw it up and kind of threw a deep pass.
Yeah, to Dalton Schultz, and that was a bad idea.
Yeah, why are you going to go long on an outside, go route on 4th and short?
Even just say
after throwing it on 3rd and short already.
Yeah, which was also ill-advised. Not ill-advised, but
I agree.
Yeah, it was the wrong thing to do, and
the play calling definitely could have been better. Yeah,
and that one definitely hurt. And also, C.J. Stroud, I was just watching a little bit of the highlights, and he kind of has some Russell Wilson ability to move around in the pocket and then make a play. But Jacksonville was ready for that. Not ready for that, but Jacksonville knew what they needed to do to stop it. And towards the end of the game, when they were trying to get that final field goal, C.J. Stroud, I think it was on like first or second down. He lost like 15 yards getting sacked by.
Yeah.
Now, ultimately, he did gain back all of it, but still, that took time. That just took like momentum. Obviously, if you're going to get a sack that big.
Yeah, because then all of a sudden it was 3rd and 17, and then there was a incomplete pass, makes it 4th and 17. And then let's just say, Amendola's kick didn't exactly go the same way that Elliott's kick went.
Yeah.
It was close. It hit the crossbeam, which was crazy. Inches away.
Which is crazy is the Jake Elliott was farther, right? That was 59, and I think
Amendola's was 60.
Oh, it was?
I think. It was pretty much the exact same kick. It was like a 59, 60-yard field goal-ish.
Oh, yeah. So that must, okay. I forgot about it. But, yeah, it did go that
bottom
way.
line, a long shot. Like, if D'Amico Ryans is smart, he's going to do like a little in route, on 3rd down to at least make it either a manageable 4th down or to give your kicker a real chance. Because if he gets those extra few yards, that kick goes through.
Yeah, and I think that's inexperienced, both quarterback inexperience and D'Amico Ryan's coaching inexperience.
Agreed.
Considering they're both first year, which is understandable. And I think that's ultimately one of the reasons why I thought that Jacksonville could win is they did have slightly more experience, and they're both young teams. They're probably both some of the youngest, most talented teams, like that combination of youth and talent.
Absolutely.
But I think
Josh Allen had a hell of a game.
Oh, yeah. See, that kind of confused me for a second. But, yeah, Josh Allen, Jaguars. Sorry, it's weird.
Yeah, because we just talked about the Bills.
It's weird. I have Josh Allen in my mind so much, and then we just talked about that. But, yeah, Josh Allen, number 41, it was kind of a weird way to put it, but he had a great game. He had maybe the game-saving sack. I mean, if he didn't get that, C.J. Stroud might have pulled something off and thrown, as he does pretty often, could have just found Tank Dell, and we could be talking about a whole different like dichotomy with these
whole
teams.
Different dynamic.
But yeah, they're gonna make the playoffs. I think I agree with your confidence in saying the Texans are going to make the playoffs. Jaguars, I think, will win the division.
Do you think they'll win the 1 seed though? Do you think they'll stay ahead of the Chiefs?
No, I don't think they're gonna win the. I think the Chiefs.
Or actually, the Ravens have it now.
But yeah, and then all the other 3 teams are tied. It's like 8-3, and then the Ravens are 9-3, which the Ravens do have a bye week, so technically that kind of is their only difference with the other teams.
But I'm with you. I don't think the Jacksonville Jaguars hold on to the number 1 seed in the AFC. I think that either the Chiefs or the Ravens take the seed.
Yeah, I agree with that. But what I will kind of finish off this point by saying is I do think the Jaguars are the best team in that division. In that semi-stacked AFC South. I mean, it's not stacked, but it's got 3 teams.
I still think Houston has the potential to be better, but obviously, like you said, first-year coach, first-year quarterback, you're going to have some oopsies, and you're going to have some, missed calls. And so, but down the stretch, if the Texans and the Jaguars meet again in the playoffs, if that happens, no matter where it is, obviously it would have to be at Jacksonville. So if they meet again in Jacksonville, I would pick Houston to win.
Oh, yeah. And I would pick Jacksonville, so we're going to have to see what happens.
Yes, we'll just have to see.
Well,
that's all the time we have today for In Your Face Sports. Join us next Tuesday at 1 p.m. as we cover Week 13 of the NFL 2023 season. Subscribe to DHK Productions Official on YouTube to be notified when new episodes release. And thank you so much for watching right here on KGUR Cuesta College Radio. We'll see you next time.
Steelers country, let's ride.
Niners for life. Bang, bang, Niner gang.
Let's have this.
You're listening to In Your Face Sports,
We're loving this. How about you?
produced by DHK Productions.
Meow.
Hey Cougars, you're listening to KGUR.net, the only radio station on the Central Coast with no playlist.